Well, I expect that you've become comfortable now with your lesson 4 before you continue to 5. It's very important that you get really comfortable with each of the lessons as you proceed through before you continue. Now, on lesson 5, we're going to get into what's known as the chords. The chords are going to be simultaneous tones produced together that we'll get to use our strumming technique for that we learned in lesson 1. A chord is actually something that is derived from the scale. As in the case of the C scale, which we just learned in the last lesson, the C scale, once again, is C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. Now, when we go to create a chord, we go every other note of the scale. And that is how we discover what notes to depress on our fingers to create the chord. So the first chord is going to be created from the first note of the scale, beginning on the first note of the scale. So we have our beginning note of C. The next note in the scale is D. We're going to skip that. Go to the next note is F. We're going to skip that and go to G. So the first chord that we can create from the C scale is the C chord. And those notes, again, are C, E, G. The second chord of the key of C is what we call a D minor chord. And the notes of that chord are D, an F, and an A. The next chord of the C scale is going to start on the third note of the C scale, which is C, D, E, is the third note of a C scale. Now we start on that note and go every other note of the scale that we're on, which is C, play E, and then we're going to skip F, we're going to go to G, we're going to skip A and go to B. So the three notes which comprise the third chord in the key of C is going to be an E minor, that's going to be E, G, and B, etc. We go to the fourth chord is going to be F, A, C. The fifth chord is going to be G, B, D. The sixth chord is going to be A, C, E. So we end up with what's known in music as 3 major chords and 3 minor chords. And this is going to be true of any key that you learn in the future. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to apply the theory of what we've just described about music on the guitar. We've established that the first chord of the key of C, the notes comprising it are an E, a C, E, and a G. So we're going to choose, I'm going to give you some standard ways that these chords are played. So I'm going to get a C note that's going to be on the 5th string of the 3rd fret with the 3rd finger. What we want to do is use our previous techniques of creating a muting sound first and pressure touch sensitive here, and then gradually press to that tones produced. Remain with that pressure and make sure that the finger is adequately on its fingertip and angled so that it's not touching the next string, the 4th string, because we're going to get an E note now on that 4th string, and we're going to barely touch with a downstroke, mute it until the sound's produced. Now we have 2 notes of the chord. My pick is on a rest at the 3rd string. You'll notice as you continue to review these lessons that I keep my pick down a lot. I don't take it away from the strings, and I always bring my pick to a rest on adjoining strings. So now I'm on string 3, which is going to be open. There's our 3 notes comprising the chord. C, E, G. I can get another C here. It doesn't matter how many C, E's, or G's that I play. It's still going to be a C chord. But just to make it fuller sounding, we're going to add another note. So we're going to have the 2nd string pressed, lightly touch C, then E. Now, relax all the fingers. Let the strings push your fingers up. Keep your fingers relaxed. And then place your pick on the 5th string. Press all the fingers simultaneously, strum through. Now we have our C chord. Then relax your fingers right away. It's a real good idea to keep relaxing the fingers and not being in such a hurry to constantly press. So get the fingers in place where they're going to go now, and then press them all simultaneously, strum, and then relax. The next chord is going to be D minor, which were the notes D, F, and A. We're going to get a D here. And we're going to get an A with a 2nd finger on the 3rd string, 2nd fret, a D, 3rd finger, 3rd fret of the 2nd string, an F, 1st string, first fret. Now we have a D minor. Relax the fingers, but leave them in the place where they're going to press. Set the pickup on the fourth string, press, and then release and relaxed. The next chord, E minor, is going to be the bottom string open. Then we're going to have the second finger on the second fret of the fifth string, which is going to be a B note. You might have to back that finger up a little bit because the next note's going to be on the same fret. So we're going to have pressure touch till we get the tone. That's going to be an E note, and that's going to be the third finger on the second fret of the fourth string. Now in this case, chords are a little different than scales because this requires playing two notes on the same fret. So we've got to use the third finger on the second fret in this case. The rest of the strings are going to be open, which are a G, a B, and an E. Relax the fingers and keep them in that position to play the chord. Set your pickup on the bottom string, then press the chord, follow through with the strum, which will include all 6 strings, then release and relax your fingers. The next chord will be an F, third finger, third fret of the fourth string, second finger of the third string, second fret, and then we have what's called a bar, which means that you have to take your index and lay it over on its side, preferably at the fret wire, and then we're going to get both of those at the first fret, C and an F note here, and then you strum through, and then relax right away. Now the F is considered normally the toughest chord to learn when in beginning guitars, the one that people have the most difficulty with. But if you practice it, you'll get it. Keep remembering to press and then relax the fingers instead of holding constant strain in your left hand and then using your pressure touch on each individual note in the bar, and eventually you'll get comfortable with doing this chord. The next one is going to be G. So we're going to pressure touch on the bottom string, fret 3, third finger, till the tone's produced. Then the fifth string, we're going to get the second fret with the second finger. Then we're going to have open D, open G, open B, and then the pinky's got to curl into your hand to get this G on the top string. Then you strum through and relax your hand. A lot of people can't get their third finger angled up enough to do this chord, in which case you may have to allow the fifth string to be muted out in sound because it'll lean over, and that means you won't really hear it when you strum through. And then later, as you get comfortable, you can start getting that second finger in there when you can angle your finger up enough. Then the next chord is going to be A minor, so that's going to be open fifth string. And just like, it's very similar to an E minor chord, only moved over a string, we're going to have the second finger backed up a little bit towards the middle of the fret. That's going to be an E. Then we're going to get A with the third finger on the second fret of the third string. Then we're going to add in pressure touch to get into the note. And that's going to be a C, which is first finger, first fret of the second string, and then the top string open. That's going to be A minor. So you want to set your pick on the fifth string. Get your fingers lined up and stop pressing so hard and so much all the time. Keep letting your left hand relax. Line up the fingers where they're going to go. Press simultaneously, strum, and then relax your fingers. So then you will end up with all of the 6 chords that occur from the C scale, being C, D minor, E minor, F, G, and A minor. Now what I'd like to do is show you how to use what I call a bass strum method. And this is pretty good because it gives a nice, interesting way of giving you a little bass note and then a strum. Okay? What's interesting also is that the bottom note of each of these chords has the same letter name as the name of the chord. For instance, C bass for a C chord, D bass for a D minor, E bass for E minor, F bass for F, G for a G, A for an A. Now if we put that to time, and our common time count is 1, 2, 3, 4, it will come out as such. Bass, strum, 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 bass, bass, strum, 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 bass, strum, strum, what's also good about this is that it allows you to learn how to switch chords. Make the destination your bass note first for each chord change, and it will give you time to make the chord switch. So if I go C bass and a strum, then immediately get to the next bass note of the chord you want to go to first, then it gives you time to finger the chord. Then I go right to an E bass. See, and then that gives me time to get my fingers over for E minor, F bass, then the chord, get right to your bass note, then strum the chord, right to your bass note, then strum the chord. This will be the first step in graduating you to how to more readily switch from chord to chord. And once again, you can make these chords in any order you want. You could go from C to A minor. You could go to E minor, you could go to F, you could go back to C, you could go to G. You can mix these up any way you like using the bass strum method. 3, 4, bass, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4 is what I recommend the way of practicing on any order you would like to play these chords. Have fun, enjoy it. I hope it works for you as well as it's always worked for me. Now, I know some of you are wondering what constitutes the difference in a major and a minor chord. The difference in a major and minor, to basically put it, is that one has a bright sound, as in the case of a C chord, an F chord, or a G chord. They're very bright sounding chords. You'll notice with minors, like an E minor has a softer, mellower sound to it. A minor and D minor. These chords can be mixed up in any order you want to play them. You can include your down-up strumming, which we've done also, and that would give you a rhythmical way of playing these chords. As such, that's using a down-up, which you can play through each chord. That's considered one of the most basic ways of learning guitar. In any event, that's enough to constitute a lesson. Please practice. Please spend the time getting comfortable with creating these chords, using the video. Take your time. Keep relaxing until you get comfortable with it, and then I'll see you on Lesson 6. Thank you.